All right, we are back. I am with the illustrious friend from across the pond, Gavin Stone again. And Gavin, I believe you and I have looked at some of Brian Laundrie's handwriting and did a little statement
We
analysis
have.
on a note that he left in the past, correct?
We have. Didn't we call it as well last time?
Yes, I think we did it actually with Peter Hyatt
hmm
as well as another gentleman. Now, a new note has surfaced. It's not Brian Laundrie. It's actually a note that his mother had apparently written to him. The question of when it was actually written, we're not quite certain. There's disputes as far as that goes. But I believe the Gabby Petito family lawsuit sued for this letter to be reproduced, and it has been reproduced very recently, and we're going to go over it and see if there's anything here. Can you give me a generalization? Did you find a whole lot?
Not a massive amount. There was a couple of little bits that I could pluck out of it where I thought they were quite pivotal. But overall, there wasn't a huge amount. There's going to be a bit more speculation or kind of, leaving it to the discretion of the viewer, shall we say?
Well, and in fairness, Gavin, no matter what, no matter how much training you have, etc., there is a degree of speculation anytime
hmm
where you're doing statement analysis or body language or anything of this sort. Wouldn't
Yeah,
you
yeah.
agree?
Everything is interpretation. It's a form of communication. So I'm looking at it how I interpret it from my perspective. So it is a lot of the time
An art?
how. Oh yeah, more of an art than a science.
Okay, well, fair enough. And let's go and pop it up. It's only 2 pages, I guess, for the overall content, and then just the one page, which is sort of addressing the letter.
hmm
So take it away, sir. What do we have?
Okay, okay. So at the very beginning of this, where it's nice and simple, it starts off. I just want you to know I will always love you, and you will always love me. Nice,
Now
simple
it's want
stuff.
you to remember, right?
Oh,
Not
that's
know.
right. Yeah, yeah. That's it. I want you to remember. Um, with that in mind, nice and simple, like I say, remember at this point, and we'll come back to the reason why later, that there's no contradictions. I will
Okay.
always love you. You will always love me. Not you'll, not I'll. And
Okay.
we'll come back to why that's relevant later. However, one of the first things that grabbed me when I did my first read through of this is I had to stop myself and say, who wrote this and who was the intended recipient? Is it possible that this wasn't actually his mother and was written by somebody else? Because
Hmm.
of the language that is used is more the kind of thing you would find from a lovesick teenager than a mother to a son. But
Really?
yeah, we'll go into that in a little bit more depth. But for the minute, like I say, I did my initial read through and I was very kind of taken aback. And it did take me several attempts to establish that it was definitely written by his mother. So
What stuck out at you to make you feel that way?
there's several little bits. The one in particular is the kind of the expressed undying love is more the language that will be used by a young lady in love with a crush or something like that, more so than a mother. Language wise, when she's saying things like "I'll do this for you, I'll do that for you, I'll do the other for you," I, I've had notes off my mom. You know what the notes usually say? I'm going out. Sort your own dinner out. Might be back by 11.
Clean up after yourself.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Left washing up. Make sure you lock the back door. And the thing is, with notes or even letters, they're usually something that are given to the recipient when they're already away, not before they
Hmm.
leave. So, but again, we'll go into that a little bit deeper. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, we'll move on to the next bit. So we've got the usual kind of I love you, you love me, blah blah blah, and then it says you are my boy. Like he
Mhm.
needs reminding. I think he should be aware of that. So it kind of stuck out at me, and it seemed a little bit out of place. Um, and that was what made me think, well, hang on, is this somebody else who's written this to give the impression it's from the mother? But like I say,
Hmm.
I did read all the way through, and I did check it all the way through, and then not only did I confirm it for myself, but I also found something else later, which will again come to, which also confirmed that it was written by her. I'm not going to go too much into the handwriting here because I know you've got an expert coming on, one of well, not one of the world's best in my opinion. But when you look at the whole thing, it does look very unstable.
Hmm.
So, and that's as much as I'll say on that because I'm not the expert, and the one you've got coming on is absolutely
Well,
fantastic.
when you say unstable, do you mean as in emotionally unstable, or handwriting unstable, like a neurological condition?
Um, the former, as in emotionally unstable, displayed in the handwriting.
Okay,
If you look, it's literally all over the place, ups and downs, and everything's very
interesting. Okay.
so yeah. So yeah, but like I say, I'm not the expert, and the one you've got coming on is. So I'll leave it at that. But that did grab my attention on the first appearance. So yeah, intended recipient covered. Then we get to this section here, and I absolutely love this. You can't see my screen, so it's no good me pointing. I'm still pointing with my pen. I think I found it really, really interesting where she started coming up with after the how much I love you. If you're in jail, I will bake a cake with a file in it. She's coming to his rescue.
Mhm.
Uh, if you need to dispose of a body, that was unusual. I will bring, which is crossed out, show up with a shovel and garbage bags. Again,
Now, that's a in statement analysis. That's
mhm,
significant, right? When a word is crossed out and it's replaced by something else. What does that
yeah,
mean?
so there are a multitude of things, but it's almost saying, I know what you've done and where you are, and I can come out to you, and this is what I will do. It's almost demonstrating I'm aware of it because it's almost like it's been planned. Whereas the latter is more like instead of saying I will, it's saying I could. So it's pertinent. I'm not 100% sure how or why because I don't see the whole picture. Unfortunately, I can speculate that this wasn't, as she states, written prior to the trip, or
Well, we'll go into that
or
later.
or if it was planned. But yeah, we'll cover that later. So again, I will show up with a shovel and garbage bags. Again, coming to his rescue. So this is the second time now. The first one, I'll rescue you if you're in jail. I'll rescue you if there's a body.
Okay, and the file and the cake, I guess, is that part of what made you think like a lover, like an old timey movie where the wife goes and visits her husband with
Yeah,
the file in the cake type of thing?
it certainly helps show something more towards a romantic gesture than the kind of thing that a mother would do. But so I mean, we've got twice here. We've got these indications of rescue.
Hmm.
Then something weird happens. If you were to go to the moon, which has
Fly to
gone
the moon.
fly to the moon. Yep, sorry, because it's not on my screen in front of me. I've got the handwritten thing. I
I understand.
can't. So if you were fly to the moon, I'd watch your skies for the re-entry. So now she's gone from being active to kind of being passive and observing. And then
Hmm.
finally, this last bit is where it gets interesting. It says, um, "If you hate my guts, comma, I'll get new guts."
Now again, it's if you say you hate my guts,
That's it.
I'll
Yeah,
get new guts.
yeah. Now, again, the reason that's relevant is this is the first time that there's a contraction that's relevant to what's happening. She's gone from
Oh,
I will to I'll. Indicating at this point, and again, this is slight speculation more so than a science, that the thought of him saying he'll hate her guts is enough to make her want to end that sentence faster because she doesn't like
hmm.
that thought. And that's why it's gone from I will to I'll. She shortened it. The writing's nice and small. It's not quick full stop on the end. And then she's gone, remember that love is. So again, we'll come back to that in a minute. So that's where you've got your contraction. So you've got two going to the rescue, one where she's observing, and then the very thought of him saying that he hates her guts has all of a sudden has shown that minor contraction in the wording. Not anything massive, solid, or concrete, but is relevant because in statement analysis or anything along these lines here, if something is different, there's a reason it's different.
Okay.
So I can't 100% guarantee what that reason is, but judging by what I do know about statement analysis and the fact that the sentence is short and been shortened, she doesn't like the idea of that one bit. So we're going from rescue, and again, if you say you help me, it goes, oh, I don't like that idea, and then it's straight back to love.
Yeah. Next line is remember that love is a verb, not a noun.
Actually, it's a verb, a noun, or an adjective, depending on which way in the sentence it's used. But neither here nor there. So yeah. Remember, it's a verb, not a noun. What did I put with that now? Yeah. Right. So this sentence, I wanted to see if you could imagine with what's coming up now. Remember that verb is a word, not is a verb, not a noun.
Right.
Not a thing, not words, it's actions. Watch people's actions to know if they love you. So she's now gone from expressing her love and what
Hmm.
she'll do from him to talking about a third party. Now,
Right.
again, relevant in the sense of they're not saying who that third party is, but they are
Hmm.
saying watch people's actions, watch what they do, watch what their words are, watch what they say, watch what So it is implying that somebody out there is saying they love you, but they're not acting like they do.
So almost like it's holding herself up as the template
Hmm.
of I will do all of this. I, whom you know
Hmm.
loves you, will fly to the moon, whatever, watch for reentry, put a file in the cake, but will this other person take
Hmm.
these actions that I will? Is it something like
Exactly.
that?
Yep. I mean, that it's like a perfect martyrdom of this is me, the perfect image of love. I've already told you and proved to you I'm your mother, and I'll bake your cakes with files in. I'll do X, Y, and Z, help you get rid of dead bodies. Blah 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 blah. That's what
As a
people.
mother would
Yeah,
do.
as any mother would. My mother should probably hit me over the head with a shovel. But what can I say? She's Irish. But we got this whole thing of this kind of, yeah, like you say, this perfect image of love, this perfect kind of this is what love actually is. Then this implication or indication that what you're experiencing isn't love. It's somebody saying they love you, but they don't. Because if they did, would they do these things for you that I'm willing to do?
Okay.
Does
And
that make
I'm
sense
not,
so far?
it does. And it makes me think that it's going to bring up timing questions as we go.
Hmm.
Because the obvious blunt implication would be she could be referencing his girlfriend, Gabby Petito,
Hmm.
in the sense of, look how much I love you. Does she love you? But then that would imply that this is written when Gabby was alive and well
Hmm.
and before anything happened. So I,
Yep.
I don't know. I figure we'll go to the next page and all will come clear from the
Well,
great Gavin.
bit by bit, we will try and get there. So yeah, I mean, we've kind of established that there's a third party. That much we know.
Mhm.
We've kind of established that it's more than likely Gabby. What we do know, they're not talking about the ice cream man.
Right.
Right? We're not talking about the third grade teacher. It is somebody involved in their life claiming to love him that they obviously don't. And now there's all your biblical stuff. I'm not going to read it all. What I will say at this point is she's put all that in. It might mean more to him than what it does to us. It might be more relevant and pertinent to him to what it does to us. But she's made a point of not only saying the chapter and verse of Romans that it is, but also in brackets with an exclamation mark that it's the extended version. So it's
Which is very
almost,
odd.
yeah, it's almost like she knows, regardless of what's said on the envelope or wherever it was, that she knows this is going to get read. Or she knows somebody else may read this and wants to prove a point and wants it to be referenced. This isn't just me making up these words. Check this out. This is where you'll find it.
Hmm, that's odd. That's very weird,
So
Gavin.
it is. It didn't seem right to me somehow that she would make the point of saying that. I wasn't quite sure why she'd done that. But like I said, that exclamation mark, that it's almost like making a point of saying check this out.
So 50% of this is her words, and
Mhm.
50% is a quotation other than the words extended version.
Yeah. And that in itself makes you wonder, what is she trying to do? Is she trying to indicate, look, this isn't just me, there's this divine power. So over here, it's like, I'm your mom, this almighty, fantastic, all-loving being that will tear her guts out for you. And over here is God. You can't get any better or more powerful or more wonderful than God. And then you've got, this person who claims they're in love with you down here, not doing any of this stuff, not being comparable to me or God. It does give a very kind of egotistical kind of sense of equivalency to it between like, kind of, look, here's me and God working together to kind of get you on the right path.
Very weird. Okay, so I'll go to the last one.
The last one.
And this is the part that has people pretty much creeped out. Brian Christopher Laundrie. Full name, too. That's odd, isn't it? Coming from a mother.
Very. Think about people who've used all three names throughout history. I know you
Lee
know a
Harvey
couple.
Oswald.
There's the first one. If you think
John
of all,
Wayne Gacy.
yeah, you can literally go through history and look at all of the kind of serial killers and assassins and that kind of thing, and it's nearly all three
Now,
names.
in fairness, though, it's three names because that's their government name, right? Like when they're locked up under their formal name. Like when somebody buys a house, they put their full name on a deed.
Mm-hmm.
I've thought about that a little bit more. And like Lee Harvey Oswald, I think it was called Lee. Hey, Lee, what's up, Lee? How you doing? Oh, it's Lee Oswald. I don't know that they walked around saying, well, Lee Harvey Oswald will be at work at 10 a.m. today. Or they would say, yeah, Lee Oswald's coming in at 10.
No,
So I'm not sure, but I do think it's odd, though, to write out the full name on an intimate letter of some kind. It's weird.
Yeah. Ask yourself this: if this was something you were writing to your wife, to your siblings, to your relative, would you put Leslie and
Yes.
and leave it at that, or would you put her full name all the way through?
Or a pet name. I
Yeah.
mean, well, like I could see my son,
Yeah.
or whatever, from a mother to a kid, like son, first name, or whatever. Yeah, it seems very formal.
Very.
And then burn after reading, which is what I think sets everybody off. Like, what the hell is that other than a movie title? But
Now ask yourself this: if you were handing somebody a note that you didn't want anyone else to see after that had been read, because you know it might be considered incriminating, would you write, "This contains incriminating evidence," or "speculatively incriminating," or would you say, "Listen, do me a favor, read this later when you're on your own," and then burn it when you handed it to them?
you probably wouldn't write it. Yes.
Yeah. So that in
That's a good point.
itself is something to me. There's a little red flag there that makes me go, okay, that's very unusual. Does she know this is going to get read one day?
Or is it, I don't know. I can't help, because there's a movie with that same title. I don't know. Does that share some meaning to them both? I feel like there could be meaning there that I don't understand. I don't want to excuse anything.
No,
Obviously,
definitely
something
not.
horrible happened, but I don't want to. I don't know. It's very weird. So, okay. Well, she claims, I believe, that it was written prior to them leaving her home for the
That's what
trip.
she says, yeah.
And here we have this. So I'm going to go and read. The letter to Brian was written prior to Gabby and Brian leaving my home for their trip. Previously, I submitted an affidavit to the court for very limited purposes, but that is not the whole story. Now the letter has been shared. I ask that you read it in its entirety and understand that the letter contains other phrases besides those highlighted by Pat Riley for sensationalism and to bolster his case. I truly loved my son and simply wanted to convey to him how much he meant to me and how much I loved him. I'm sure people use phrases all the time to express their loved ones the depths of their love. Although I chose words that I thought would be impactful with Brian given our relationship, the letter was in no way related to Gabby. Please read the entire letter before you believe the hype put out by Pat Riley. Now,
Mm.
reading this, I'm going to defer to your expertise, but I believe that looking at the letter reads like it was, in fact, written before anything happened to Gabby Petito.
In my opinion, yeah. Yeah. With this, it's very, very close. But looking at what I've read so far and looking what's written here and knowing what I know, I would say it was. This is not something that has happened after the event.
Okay, and it is actually congruent with her statement. The what's written in there, the context, the whole thing of somebody else being implied feels like she's saying "I love you" and Gabby doesn't in the
That's
letter.
yeah, that's where I would go. So because there's nobody else that I can think of that is going to fit that kind of writing. Like I say, we've established they're not talking about the milkman and we're not talking about the postman. This is somebody who's very close and intimate in their life saying that they love them. Now, another parent or another relative, it would be written about in a very different way. Because as a parent, I'm going out on a bit of a limb here, but you don't turn around to your kids and say, "Look, your dad doesn't love you as much as your mom, or your mom doesn't love you as much as your dad," or that. It's that's not the way it works. So if it's going to be somebody as a parent saying that person doesn't love you, it's usually going to be, a partner. So,
Yeah.
you know, so unless there was another somebody and there's a little love triangle we don't know about, then as far as I'm concerned, it's all indicating towards Gabby.
Okay,
Um,
and the conclusion I kind of feel like, but I'm putting it out to you, all of you. What do you think? Because it almost, I hate to say it because of it's such a complete nightmare of events. Feels like a weird letter that shows a potentially weird relationship with her son, but in terms of the outcome of what happened, I don't know. Gavin, do you see any strong reflection in that?
I see a lot of things that for me don't then they're not the way the average person would write a letter to their offspring. In fact, I challenge everybody watching: go and write a letter to your children to tell them how much you love them. Then compare and see the differences. Do it completely objectively. Not. So when you write it out just like you're writing a letter to tell your child, son or daughter, that you love them. Right? Don't do it thinking of this. Do it thinking of them. Then put the two side by side and see how far away or how close they are. And I'm reckoning they're going to be a million miles apart. So,
True. So it's very weird.
oh, yes, for sure.
Hands down, very weird. And I will have the great handwriting analyst, Michelle Dresbold,
Mhm.
and she will be looking at the writing itself and what it may reflect in terms of their relationship and what Brian's mother may be saying.
Yeah.
But
I'll be
until
watching for
then,
that one.
it's going to be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Gavin, thank you so much. And everyone, comment below what you think. Are we completely off base? Are we missing something major here? I haven't studied the case completely or deeply, and you may give us some information that we didn't realize. So, thank you so much.